Hi, this is Sam with ThinkParticle.com, and in this video we're going to be talking about the Octane Studio Kit version 1.3. So for those of you that have used the Octane Studio Kit before, you may know what it is, but those of you that don't know, well, what is it? It's a studio lighting kit for serious Cinema 4D artists who want to make anything look great. And it's full of a lot of really useful tools. So what's in it? A collection of studio lighting presets, a number of different tools and materials, HDRs, color correction presets, and so on. So what's in it for you? Why is this worth your time and money? Well, there's no more spending 10 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever you spend, setting up your initial scene lighting every time you make a new project. And I'm not talking about dropping a light in. I'm talking about setting up solid lighting that looks really good, that makes your client really excited. So you just drag and drop it in. And there's a lot of customization, as you can find with all of our products. So, but don't take our word for it. Who uses it? Huge companies like Nintendo, Blind, Future Deluxe, Amazon.com, CBS, and this is just a few. There's thousands of customers that have used ThinkParticle tools before and presets in major productions. So we promise you, this isn't just some like small little thing. This is it speaks for itself. So what's included in the new update? A rebuild for Octane 3 of current tools. We have 15 HDRIs now. We have over 100 materials. I'm going to be honest, I didn't count them. There's probably over 200 or 300. And there's 15 new studio presets. We've actually gotten rid of all of the old ones. And basically, most of the old ones had a few different lighting setups, but they were really just different materials on the C Studio, which I'll show you in a minute. But now you actually have the ability to use 15 different lighting setups, which are also in HDRs if you want to quickly change between them. And I'll show you how that works too. So there's 2 new example scenes as well. And, well, I mean, if you're already interested, if you want to go find it, it's at the ThinkParticle shop, Hello Lux, or the Tool Farm. This is where you can find our products. All of our products are at all of these locations. So let's go ahead, and we're actually going to start a 2-part demo. It's going to start with the included tools, how to set them up, and how to use them, and a creative project demonstrating the usage is what we'll do after. So let's go ahead and jump in. So we'll switch over. And give me just 1 second. All right, so how do you get the preset installed? So the first thing you need to do is purchase the preset at one of the providers. Any of them will do well for you. And then you download it, unzip it, and install it in your browser folder. This is found under your Cinema 4D directory. Go to the library, browser, and you can find it in here. Or excuse me, you can place it in here. You can also drag and drop it on Cinema 4D every time you need to use it, but if you want it to always be in Cinema, go ahead and drop it into that folder. And then you just open it up in Cinema 4D in your content browser. And I have a very large interface for Cinema 4D, so I'm going to go ahead and just change over to, actually, you know what, I'm going to stay in this. I'll just explain where everything is if I access anything different. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about how everything works. So if you open up the content browser, you can see, for starters, the Octane Studio Kit has a new layout. So this is the old layout. You'll see that all of the example scenes and studios are all in folders, but these 5 main items are, well, they're gone in the new one. And they're actually not gone. They're in the single studio folder. This is a little bit of an organization or housekeeping item we've done. You can also find all of these studios, these nice, beautiful studios, in the studios folder. We also have a legacy folder for those that are working with R15 and behind. Anybody that doesn't have R16 and newer is going to need to use this because the C Studio needs R16. The C Studio needs R16 to function. The legacy version, however, does work with older versions of Cinema 4D, so you're set. All you need is Octane, I believe version 3. And we have a collection of HDRIs you can drag and drop in, and a collection of example scenes, which you can either drag in or you can double click, and these will open, and then you'll just need to resave it. Another thing you can use is these color correction presets, and I'm going to show you Actually, I'll just explain it. When you render a scene and it's in your picture viewer, you can double click on any of these, and then it'll open in your picture viewer, or excuse me, it'll apply it to your picture viewer. So let's go ahead and move forward. We're going to talk about some demonstration scenes. So I've set up a few examples. The first is these oranges. I got this food scan orange model off of the internet. There's this great site that has these, and I will pull that up for you right now. Give me just a second. Alright, so those can be found at blankrepository.com. So go ahead and check that out. Oh, and they're free, so super fantastic. They've got a lot of really great items here, and make sure to donate. So we're gonna go ahead and look at some of these scenes. First, I just modeled a little scene here, this simple little bowl. And by the way, these materials, minus the orange, are part of the Octane Studio Kit. I didn't show you those. We have a lot of different materials you can find. We have emissive materials, and I know these look very basic, but when you set up an emissive material, it's a multi-step process, and it's one of those things that just saves you a couple of steps here, which is very useful. There's a lot of metal materials, and if we zoom out, you can see most of them. Sometimes some of them take a little bit to load. We have some car paint materials, which I'll show you how to set up later. Some black and white plastic materials, and some color materials. And these would take a little bit to load, but basically we have anywhere from red, yellow, all the way just through the rainbow. Just every type of color. And we have translucent materials, frosted glass, ice, jello, and water. And obviously we still have our single studio items, our studios, and all of that. So let's go ahead and go back to our viewer. So this is one of the plastic materials, and then we used another plastic material for the background. And I just grabbed one of the presets, and I think it looks really snazzy. I feel like this is something you could find pretty similarly to a photorealistic rendering in an IKEA catalog or something like that. So this is great if you use if you do product shots or ArcViz work. There's another item that would be very handy. This is an iPhone, and for those of you that like Android, well, you can scoff and make your comments about it. But this is a nice little phone render. Oh, sorry. And there are just 4 softboxes here. And I've got this set up to give some nice room lighting and a nice reflective light. And it's really, really easy to set this up. All you have to do is just drop in your lights. Your softbox is so easy to drop in. And I actually set this up initially with just a one of the studios. And I believe I used number 10 right here. Just one light off to the side. Actually, you know what? I didn't. I used one above and one to the side, which was number 7. So this one. And what it gave me was a light above and a light to the right. And actually, yeah, that's right. Nope, it's, well, either way, it was one of those. It's this one, number 13. I used number 13 to place this light above, and then I moved it back and hid the C Studio and left that light off to the right and repositioned it later to make sure that I got the reflection really nice and placed properly. And if you need to just adjust it, I mean, it's not hard to, if the client's not happy, if they say it doesn't reflect enough, if it's not sexy enough, then it's really easy to just move it and get real-time feedback. This is why Octane is so powerful. So let's go ahead and just place that back. So now we have our iPhone lit marvelously, and Apple's really happy, or the app that's paying us to make this great commercial. And you can work on some really cool MoGraph projects. This is an object from a Beeple video, one of his latest videos, and we just cloned it in, and it's fun to just kind of lay some things out and get some nice lighting set up for some previs or for some creative projects to show off your model. If you want to just show it off, you can set up a nice little scene. Just honestly, if you're a modeler, just drop your model into one of these studios, hit render, and you're done. I did do one adjustment here. I did add an image texture, an HDRI, to the scene to add to the lighting. So basically, this lighting over here kind of fills in the darkness behind our model. And then we also have our softbox and a metallic studio setup. So let's see, and this is what it would look like without the HDRIs. So those really make a big difference. You can't see anything. And then we add the HDRI, and we're set. We're good to go. So this studio offers a range of flexibility that wasn't available before. And the nice thing is it's not just a color. This is an HDRI, so if we move it around, it really gives a different dynamic look. So very helpful. And this is one of the example scenes that's included. This is a nice little rocket ship, kind of a toy rocket ship I modeled a while back. And if you want it to render quicker, just turn off the sky and it'll render a lot quicker. I've got a medium setup, and this is a scattering medium. And if you want a really solid scattering medium, to use in your scene, something that will give you kind of a deep fog look, this scene will show you exactly how to do that. And I've set it up here because if you turn your thickness up to 1000 with the default settings of a fog light, it's not going to work. It's going to be like you're looking into a solid object. So you have to turn the density down inside of it to a very low setting. And it gives you this wonderfully powerful fog feeling. And you just let it sit and resolve. And if you've got a better graphics card than I do, then you're in Fat City. This is the quickest thing ever. This is beautiful. So, and obviously there's this cute little rocket model that you're welcome to use commercially for whatever you need, all included in the back. So there is, this is an example scene, by the way, and I've just double clicked on it, and if you notice, I can't save it. So this is one of those examples of resaving it. So you'd have to save it to a new directory. So let's go ahead and move on. Here's another example scene. So let's look at this. So there's this little plastic nail object, and if we just hit play and let it fly in, you can see that there's some motion blur on the object. To make sure you add a Octane object tag if you need to add motion blur to your scene, by the way, just a little tip for you. And you get these nice, beautiful renders, very, very simple. It feels kind of like a Cartoon Network sort of ident. The colors and everything are very bright. This would be great for products or titles. You could just add some text. It's a lot of fun. And if you take the nails out, it's a lot safer. Now the Octane Studio Kit is ready for small children. So before, you need some parental supervision. So last scene we're going to look at is this car scene. And I'm going to show you how to set up our preset car paint materials, and how to make a few adjustments to that car material so you can understand how it works. And you can make these awesome shots of cars, which I know a lot of people like to do. So I have made a few adjustments to this scene, but let's go ahead and drag and drop these in. We'll go ahead and go with the orange one this time. And you just literally drag and drop it in. The only material that requires any secondary action is the mix materials, meaning the car paint. You need to make sure you drag and drop the base coat in, and then the reflection coat, or I think I call it a clear coat. So that'll give you your car paint material. So we're just going to drop that onto our car and render it again. Give it just a moment. Oh, give us just 1 second. All right, and we are back to where we were before it crashed, and that's just because Octane 3 was literally released, I think it was 2 days ago. So what happened was it's just a minor bug in Octane that wasn't the Studio Kit. What you get in Octane's in the Octane Studio Kit default materials for the mixed materials is this really interesting car paint material. Now the orange is a very strong variation. You'll see that the orange over here, actually it looks kind of like the car got sunburned. So what's going on is the base coat, specularity and diffuse are different. And they are in fact so different that what's going on is when you render it, it looks like they are falling off. So let me change these settings just a smidgen. We'll make it a red sort of look. So what happens is the specular color is what is affected by the lights, and the diffuse color is what is affected by just general illumination. So if you are reflecting something or have a specular highlight, that's going to be the color of the specularity. The diffuse, however, is the actual default color of the car. So now we have this, I guess it's a little bit more orange. We have our lighting set up, and if you want to have it be a stronger roughness, it will be a lot softer. Or if you want it to be a harder roughness, it's going to have a much brighter or a much more prominent fall off between the two colors, and I'll show you that by resetting these colors a little bit. So the roughness will determine how strong that fall off is. As you can see, there's a little bit of orange right here, and it's just very orange wherever the light hits directly. But if you just turn that roughness up a lot, it's going to be a lot softer. It'll grade it out a bit. And also, keeping the colors closer to each other won't hurt either. So we'll go ahead and set that. And the next thing you want to do is, if you want to have it be more like that metallic blue paint that we had earlier, the thing to do is to mix the index around. You can vary it depending on your needs. I have it set by default to 8. And then you have the clear coat, and what you can do with that is to make it look a little bit more metallic, you can add some roughness to it. And if you add a lot of roughness, it'll give it a bit of a matte, metallic sort of look, which I think looks pretty cool. And if you go to the mixed material, you can also change these settings. This is where you balance between the two. So the mixed material is going to allow you to say, oh, I just want the metal because I think it looks really good, which is a 0 on the float value. So for the mix, you want to use a 0 for just the clear coat, or a 1 for just the base coat. So you can actually use this to edit it and get an idea of what to expect. And I'm going to pull some of these settings down on the base coat. And also you'll notice that affects the fall off of the specularity and the blend of it. So this is really just a color balance. Okay, so we'll go with that setting right there. So about a 0.55 on the roughness, and the index is we'll just go a 6. And we'll go back to the mix value and set it to 0 and get something we really like. And that's actually not too far. I think that metallic look is really beautiful and strong. Probably go with a 0.35. And then we can just dip it down just a smidgen. Maybe a bit more. 0.5. And that gives us this really nice, clean, reflective look. That might even be too rough. We can pull it down to a 0.25. And we'll set the float to 0.25, or excuse me, 0.5 for the mix value. Okay, we're going to bring the roughness back up. But anyways, I'm going to skip the rest of this. We'll just focus on the car. But it's a lot of fun to just make these really nice materials very quickly. And these are all, materials included in the Octane Studio Kit, and this model was free on TurboSquid, so you can just go download it. To make the chrome wheels, what I did was I just grabbed the chrome I think .1. So if you go to the metal materials, go to chrome.1, that's the material I'm using. And then for the tires, I used a plastic. And if we go to the content browser, you can see the black and white plastics. I'm pretty sure I just grabbed one of these, probably plastic 34, because it looks most like a tire. And that was really easy to do. And I used the glass for the glass material. I did turn down the reflection a little bit, and I added some translucence to these plastic lights right here. And I did change the index of refraction to 1.46 to make it look a little better. But anyways, that's exactly what I did. So now that we've finished that, let's go ahead and move to the next step. So those are all of our scenes. Those are some of the projects that you can make with the Octane Studio Kit. And it's not limited to that. You can do a million things with this. Whatever you need lit in 3D, if you use Octane, it's super powerful. And it's a lot of fun to work with. I mean, it takes creativity and really makes it the centerpiece, because when you just drop a normal Octane light in, let me grab one, you have to go into the light settings, and to set it up, you have to resize it, and then you have to position it, and then you have to rotate it, and just to make sure you've got everything set. And it takes some time, and then you decide that you want to change the brightness on the light, but the next thing you need to do is then go and change the scale because your art director isn't happy with it. It's a hassle. The Octane Studio Kit, however, has all of those settings on the same page. They're all right here. And it's targeted at a light target, so that makes it really easy to move around and always have it pointing at the right spot. So, the entire Studio Kit's built this way. So, I think it makes total sense to have it in your workflow. So go ahead and you can save big now for a limited time. The Octane Studio Kit can be found for $25.99 at thinkparticle.com/shop or any of our resellers, and go pick it up. You can make some crazy cool scenes with it. So now, as I said, we're gonna have a two-part scene. Now we're gonna get a little creative. We're gonna go make something, and we're gonna experiment a little bit. So I'm gonna just make a little bit of commentary as I create something. So first thing I'm gonna do is spend a moment brainstorming, and then we'll develop a look. All right, so what we're gonna do is make a kind of a MoGraph style right now that's very popular, is kind of a plastic toyish feel. So we're gonna just start by dropping in a nice cube, and we're gonna make it nice and beveled, and we're gonna have a cloner object, and let's grab one of these again, and stick some tubes out of it. So the way we're gonna build this is have our reference cube and our cloner, and we're gonna set it up with an object cloning mode, and our cube right here will be used for visual representation, and we'll just drop in some geometry. So let's drop in a a cylinder, and make sure that we are cloning to polygon center, and set it to +Z. And I want these to stick out a bit more, so we're gonna move them on the Z axis in our transform, 100 centimeters. And that's actually a bit much, so we'll dial it down and see what looks good. These are kind of thick. Let's see, let's get a good balance here. I feel like 35 is going to be a good solid setup here. And I want to pull these back in a bit more. Now, actually, I'm going to leave them out and set it to 15, and I think I might try something a little different. I'll try setting this to 75. That's a bit too much. Let's go to 65. maybe 45. And we'll leave it at that. So the next thing we're going to do is make some caps for these. Let's grab a tube, set it to Z, and make sure that our inner radius is set to the same radius as our cylinder, and then our outer radius will just be 55. And we will just move it on the Z axis. And we will change the height to be 10. No, let's try 30. And we'll go with 40. And pull it back so it fits. And then we'll control click and drag it back so that it is at the base of the box too. So now what we can do is set these tubes to have a fillet of maybe 1 centimeter. Nice and soft, nice and fun, friendly. And let's go ahead and start by texturing it. So let's go ahead and grab some materials. We're going to just start with a red material here, a red plastic. And we'll grab a glass material. And then we'll grab a nice metal material. I'd like to use a medium roughness bronze and see how that looks. And we're going to just drag all these materials on. First, we're going to drop the plastic on the cube. Then the bronze is going to go on the tubes. And then we're going to put the glass on the cylinder. And I'm actually going to change the refraction to 1.46 to make it a plastic. And we will leave fake shadows on. And we need to light it, but I don't want to set up a scene yet. I still want to just kind of test these materials. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop in Studio 13. So let's go ahead and drop that in. And we're good to go. So let's go ahead and go to the Octane settings and turn on the alpha channel. And now all we can see is our little object here. It's kind of cute, really fun. So let's see what it would look like if we shrank the cube just a bit. Okay, I like that. It's this nice little MoGraph sort of look. Kind of a popular style these days with Octane. And I'm gonna experiment a little bit with the position of these. And the scale. Okay. So that's good. I really like that. Now we need to design a purpose for it. So what I think I want to do next is I'm trying to think if I want to use a dynamic simulation here or if I want to make this a light. So I think I'll do a dynamic simulation. So give me just one moment. I'm going to think about it. All right, so after thinking about it for a bit, I think I want to make these kind of like reactors that kind of work with each other in this kind of network. So what we're going to do is set this up to clone into the scene, and we'll make a number of them that kind of wiggle around and interact with each other. So let's go ahead and hit C on the cloner to make sure that we can clone it. Again, what we need to do is make it a child of the cube, and then we need to drop this into another cloner, and we can set that to a grid array, and we'll set that to 2000 by 2000 by 2000, and set it to 5 by 5 by 5, and that's too many. So let's pull it down to 4s. And resend our scene. And again, Cinema 4D, this is a new release 1.1 of 3.0, so bear with us. Alright, so this is why you save your scenes. So Cinema 4D does have a crash restore point for most crashes. Sadly, this was not one of those cases, so I'm going to reconstruct that scene based off of what I had before very briefly, so bear with me just for a moment. I'm going to just kind of wing it based off of what I roughly remember having. So I'm going to pause just 1 second. Alright, so I've got this mostly modeled, pretty close to what I had before, and we'll just go ahead and set this up one more time. Remembering it was a rough plastic, and we had a translucent glass material, which we made plastic by setting the index to 1.46, and then we had a, gosh, I think it was a bronze metal, medium roughness. So we'll go ahead and drop all of those materials back on and make sure that we have it looking good. And we need to drop back in our lighting. And this may not be the most convenient situation in general, but it's convenient for me and for us because I get to show you how fast it was to light that. And to make the materials, like, what did that take, 30 seconds? Maybe? And now we have our HDR and we can, light it from any angle, and there's a lot of options here. So let's get a good lighting angle. Okay, it's a friendly little guy. Let's give him some friends. So we are going to, what we'll do is we'll set up the scene before we render, because this is a new version of Octane for cinema, and it has crashed a few times on us, so we want to be careful, and that should solve it. So we'll set this up, and we'll go ahead and just drop in a camera and get a few of these guys to move around. And I actually think I'm going to set it to 5x5x5 at 2500 by 2500 by 2500. We'll do 3000 actually. If we just jump out to, say, this guy, you can feel like there's a lot more in here. Or this guy right here. And we will make this a zoom lens to make it kind of microscopic. And this composition's pretty cool. Let's try 2650 by 2650 by 1900. Maybe 2000. -45. Actually, it's probably 2650. Okay. All lined up. For the most part. That's good. We'll go with that for now. And what we're going to do is make these cloners move around. They'll move a little bit in position, but what I really want them to do is wiggle. And I want to set it to a noise. I want the animation speed to be 1. Actually, maybe a little bit more. 15. We'll set the noise scale to 25. Set the frames to 150. Maybe animation speed up a bit. scale down, speed up. So I feel like these would be a lot like electrons. I want to give it an energy that's just kind of fun and dynamic. Now before we render this, make sure that you set up your Octane settings so that the amount of specularity depth that we'll need here will be enough. And 16 should usually be enough passes, but we might want to go with one more. So we might want to, a bit more. So we'll just set it to 24 to be safe, to make sure that we can see through all of these. And I think that's fun, but it's not really giving me the look I want. So maybe what we can do is just drop in a single light and set it to be about 4,000 centimeters high. Let's try 3. Oops. And we'll go ahead and make it really large. Set the temperature to 6,500. And make sure it doesn't get in the way of the camera by turning off camera visibility in the rendering settings. And that's better. It gives us a prominent overhanging light, which is what I want. But I think I'm going to lift it up a bit. And I want to make it brighter. Very bright. And then I'm going to change the rotation on each of these to go at an angle of 20 centimeters. And let's go ahead and add back in an HDR. And this will be a dim HDR that will just kind of help light the scene. I think we'll go with Studio 15. So what we'll do is we will turn off the visibility of the Octane softbox. And that's actually a lot better as is. And the softbox, actually that studio is really good. So we'll just leave it at that. And we'll just get rid of the softbox target. And let's go ahead and add some depth of field. So what we'll do is we'll do a focus pick on this right here, and we will set our aperture to 4. That could be terribly strong. Might also do nothing. Let's try 10. Okay. And I'm just going to rotate a little bit around to get a good angle I like. That looks really busy. And I do want to add one more cloner that does not animate and offset all of the positions 100 centimeters. And I want you to know that you should look at this one right here. And everything else in the background is just gonna be there. And you can actually move around in Octane just by holding Alt and clicking and dragging. Alright, and we'll call that good. I'm actually gonna hold Control and rotate. Oops, that's definitely not what I was going for. Maybe it's Shift. Nope. Maybe it was Control. Anyways, I'm going to rotate a little bit on the Z-axis to give it kind of a skewed look. And instead of getting in the way of all of the others, I'm going to try and keep it out of the way of all the others. Okay, there we go. And let's rotate the light around to get a nice lighting effect. I really like this backlit look, closer to that right there, where this light is, probably just in the background. So if our camera is right there, then what's going on is the lights are, well, the light is just right up above the camera. So it's an overhead rim light. So it's a really strong rim light, which looks super good. And then we could even bring it down if we really wanted to get an even stronger rim light. But I like it where it is. And I think with the background set like that now, we're good. So let's go ahead and let this resolve for just a second and think about how we could make this look a little bit better. I'm thinking that this would benefit from a little bit more position variation. And I'm going to drag this up. Just drag the interface up so it matches our scene. I'm going to change the aspect ratio in my render settings on the other screen. And drag this up again to crop it off. I guess I just don't want to drag anymore. Another thing I could do is just grab a, well, anything would work. Let's just grab a view panel, drop it down right here, and we will just move this up. Oh, you know what? The content browser is the problem. So we'll drop it, actually we'll drop it right here. And then we will move this up. And Arnold, we'll get rid of you for now. Great tool, but not what we're using today. There we go. Okay. And this will help show the scale. I think if we rotate them more, that it will look a little bit more, I guess, a little bit less placed, a little bit more like they were supposed to be there the whole time. Reverse that. It looks like they weren't supposed to be there. Sorry. It's hard to speak when I'm talking about how to, well, when I'm making decisions like these. So, anyways, that's fun. It's really easy to set up. And these all wiggle around and play with each other. And honestly, I think it'd be really cool if we dropped a dynamic tag on these. Turned off the gravity settings and set a follow position setting and set it to a mode dynamic setting. And now if they touch each other, they'll not interact. But it looks really cool. Lots of fun to set up and very, very easy to light. So all of these little, I don't know, electron cubes are now interacting dynamically with each other. And you know what? I will go ahead and leave it at that. So you can learn how to make more great stuff like this at thinkparticle.com, and you can see all of our great tutorials there. And we have a wide variety of different things, different types of tools and presets for artists. Thank you for watching this video. So for sticking around to the end of the video and bearing with me, I first of all really appreciate your time, and would like to offer 10% off until May 30th for anybody that'd like to use the Octane Studio Kit. And that's in addition to the current price, and that's just by using coupon code New Studio Kit, no spaces. So go ahead and use that at checkout and pick up your copy of the Octane Studio Kit today. Thanks. I'm Sam Welker, and make some really great work. I'll catch you guys later.